I completely humiliated myself. Again, let me tell you what happened. Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to do a chatty get ready with me. Just going to recreate a look that I made the other night. Just going to recreate a look that I'm just going to recreate a look that I wore the other night. I really love the way that it turned out, and I want to see if I can do that look again because I kind of stumbled into it and I really enjoyed it. So let me show you which palettes I'm going to be using. I'm going to start off with the Velvet Liaison palette from Pat McGrath. I will also be using the Pat McGrath Sunlit Seduction and touching it off with a little bit of my Patrick Ta Major Dimension Volume 3, which I struggle to open every single time. There we go. This one. So it's a really simple look, okay? There's not a whole lot to it, but I really love the way that it turned out and I feel like wearing it today. So while I'm creating this look, I'm not going to focus a whole lot on the makeup, but I will show you what I'm doing. So if you have any questions about what I'm wearing or using, I will list that down below in the description box. I'm also possibly going to try to implement the new shop feature because my Google keeps trying to get me to add that to my videos. And I feel like maybe if I do, it will help push my videos into the analytics a little bit, like into the algorithm a little bit. Anyway, we'll see. I'm going to start off with a little bit of under makeup moisturizer. So let me tell you, while I'm putting on my makeup, I'm going to tell you what happened to me the other night, or what I did to someone else actually. I'm going to tell you about the other night while I was wearing this makeup look and explain to you why I can't make any friends. Well, an example as to why I can't make any friends. I'm going to give that a moment, and meanwhile I'm going to put just the thinnest layer of some gloss on, just so it looks a little better on camera. So the other night, I did not do a good job of cleaning my brushes. I mean, I was pretty overwhelmed by the number of brushes that I was washing, and I missed some spots. So that's pretty gross. I'm not going to use that one today. Hopefully I did a better job with some of my others. This one looks good. Okay. I am not going to go in with a primer today. I just don't feel the need, although I was wearing a primer the other night. Anyway, okay. So the other night I was getting dressed to go to my husband's, one of my husband's former co-workers' birthday celebrations, okay? Now, we haven't seen this man since his wedding earlier this year, okay? We were invited to his wedding because all this information provides a backdrop into what happened. I completely humiliated myself. Again, let me tell you what happened. First, I'm going to tell you about their wedding because that really plays into Saturday night. What happened Saturday night? So, okay, they got married earlier this year. It was a beautiful wedding. Well, except for the fact that while they were doing their photos right after the ceremony, okay, I kind of humiliated myself during the ceremony a little bit too. That's a story for another time, okay? But after the ceremony, I mean, all of the guests were ushered over to where the reception was going to be held. Same site, same location, so it's on site or whatever. But we were ushered over to the reception hall. They did have an open bar, mind you. All the guests are sitting around waiting for the couple to come back in, or to come in at all from after the reception. They were outside taking photographs as people at the wedding do. I mean, that's what you do. I understand. But usually when people are going to be taking photographs like that. They usually will have some snacks for the guests, okay? Well, these photographs, not only did the ceremony go on and on and on, it started at like, if I remember correctly, the ceremony started at about 3 or 4. So it was a bit of an early ceremony, okay? And then the ceremony kind of dragged on a bit. It was a religious ceremony, so they had like a whole lot of a hoopla to get through. And we're outside, mind you. It's hot, there's mosquitoes. I won't get into the details of the wedding because that's for another time. But essentially after the wedding, we had been sitting there waiting in the reception room now for quite a long time. All right, it had been over an hour. It starts inching on an hour and a half. Now, people at this point are getting completely inebriated. They do have the band playing very, very loudly, but you can smell the kitchen preparing all the food, and they're bringing all the food out, setting it up at the buffet line. However, the food line didn't open. So people are sitting around waiting, including the bride's family. I'm watching everybody. Most people are at the bar, like most of the men especially, but half the women too are over by the bar. Some people are dancing. The band is playing, okay? Those of us that aren't drinkers, hi, me. And those of us that just, weren't into dancing and didn't want to go be drinking at the bar, we were sitting at our tables, literally counting the minutes, starving and bored, being overrun by the loud music because the band is right, we're in the middle of all the tables and everything. I mean, it was a very small area. It was a small venue, although it was really pretty, okay? Thank God I always carry earplugs with me when I think that there might be either screaming bratty children or loud drunken individuals loud live music. So I had earplugs at least. And God, could I have survived had I not? I don't know. But anyway, I had my earplugs on. I'm sitting there at the table by myself basically. And then at the table next to me is a wife of one of my husband's other coworkers who also knew this man who was getting married. So, they were all coworkers. All the like men knew each other, but us wives were just kind of like hanging out at the table, each at our own table where we had been assigned to sit. And so I was by myself at the table finally. And because this like went on for well over an hour and a half, finally, at some point, the wife from one of the tables next to me came over and sat with me, and she started talking to me, introduced herself to me. And we sat and talked for over 40 minutes, okay? And we had already been waiting for about an hour before she sat at my table and before I even met her. So, I mean, like I had briefly been introduced to her at the start of when we first arrived, but you get my point. Anyway, so long story short, I start getting to the point where I cannot wait anymore. Okay, I've got to eat. And I don't even know at this point what kind of food is going to be on the menu because they haven't started plating anything. The bride and the groom are still outside taking photographs. Now, mind you, this facility is all glass. So and it's overlooking a beautiful lake, and the sun is setting over the water, and it's a really beautiful private alcove. So there's nothing going on in the backdrop of the windows that we're watching other than the bride and the groom being photographed over the cliffside over the lake. And the wedding that we had just, walked from to the reception from was there on the cliff outside. It was a beautiful outdoor wedding overlooking the lake, and it was really lovely. But like, okay, we're hungry. You had us here before dinner time, after lunch. So at a time where no food would be served and we wouldn't be expected to have eaten at that time, okay? And then the photographs went on until well after the start of dinner. At this point now, it's 8:30 at night. I've been there for about 5 hours, starving, okay? Most of the time I'm sitting there hanging out with this particular wife who is also hungry. I'm threatening to start gnawing on her arm if they don't start bringing the hors d'oeuvres around. I mean, she and I are cracking jokes. We're having a really good time, right? Making the best of the situation. However, she was probably a little bit classier than I am in that she was going to wait for the food to be served. I finally was like, okay, I looked at my watch and my phone. I looked at my phone, my clock on my phone, and I was like, literally, if the food isn't out here, if they don't walk in 5 minutes, I'm leaving and I'm going to go get some fast food and I have to eat. And she was like, are you really? And I was like, yes, I really am. Now, mind you, she had an accent, okay, because she, she seemed like a foreigner, okay? Anyway, and so the wife, the groom, but the bride that had just gotten married, okay, she was also somebody with an accent, and I had just met her. Met her one time before the wedding. We went out one time before the wedding, like briefly one night, but my point is I wasn't super familiar with the bride. I don't know her, okay? And I didn't get to spend any time with her at the wedding because I just saw her like outside from afar while I was starving. And at that point, like I'm famished. I can't focus on anything except for hunger. It feels like my stomach is eating itself. I hadn't eaten in hours. I was very, very hungry. Anyway, so finally, I texted my husband who was over there at the bar getting like he was 3 sheets to the wind, is a saying that we say for inebriated. Anyway, so I told him, I was like, I'm gonna go get food. I can't wait anymore. And he was like, really? I think they're gonna be serving the food soon. And I was like, I don't care. I'm not waiting. It's like, I'll be back. And he was like, okay. So I walked out the door. I let the woman that I was sitting with know that I literally have to go get food. So I apologize. I'm excusing myself. And if anybody's looking for me, which I doubt they will be, that I'll be back. And she was like, okay. And so I was like, I'm going to let my husband know. She was like, okay. So I caught him on the way out the door and told him, you know, I was like, bye, I'm going to go eat. And he was like, all right. So he stayed there. And I went to go eat after I left. By the time I was already at the drive-thru somewhere, okay, some random place, because I was not anywhere where I was familiar with the area. I was kind of out of town at that time for that wedding. 15 minutes later, while I'm waiting at the drive-thru line, mind you, it is now almost 10 o'clock. This like drive-thru closes at 10 o'clock and it's like 9:36 or almost 9:40 when I'm placing my order. At that point, I get a text from my husband saying, where are you? They're serving the food. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Okay, so anyways, you get the point. I finished my food driving back. It was like a 20 to 30 minute drive to get to the food, all right? So I finished my food driving back. Told my husband, be ready when I get there. I'm ready to go home. And so then I left. When I got back, I picked him up and I needed to get home. You know, I have a child. I can't be staying out all hours of the night unless that's like part of the plan. And that hadn't been part of the plan. I did not expect a 3-something wedding to end up me starving still at 10 o'clock at night. I expected to have been home long before then. Anyway, I just used some of the blush from the Pat McGrath face palette. So I picked him up, I left. I didn't get a chance to even see the bride because, again, she never came inside, okay? By the time they came inside, I was gone. And so I didn't get to see her, okay? When I had left, the sun was setting, but it wasn't dark. And when I got back, it was like really dark. And, you know, people had eaten by then. So the plates were being cleared and the people were dancing and the bride was like busy entertaining all the people that had been waiting hours for them to get in from their photo sesh. Sorry. Anyway, and so I left. My point is I didn't really that was my dog. My point is I didn't really get to spend a lot of time with the bride, okay, to become familiar with her. So fast forward to this past weekend. Let's get on to this weekend now, all right? Where's my eye base? This weekend happens, all right? My husband is like, oh, we're going to go out this weekend. Let me put on, where do I have some highlighter? Get yourself to, I need to get myself together. I'm all scatterbrained right now because I'm focused on the story and I can't do 2 things at once right now in my life. Anyway, so he's like, we're going to go out this weekend. This is before we leave. I was like, oh yeah, where are we going? And he was like, you remember that wedding we went to? I was like, oh God. I was like, I have to see them again. I'll tell you why I felt that way. Not only because of the story that I just explained, but because of a story that I'm going to say for another time. So anyways, that was my reaction. I was like, oh God. I was like, please no, tell me no. And so, you know, he kind of insisted. I was like, all right. I liked the location it was going to be at. His coworker's nice. We'll go. We'll make a night of it. So I got all dressed up. I put on a dress. I wore heels for the first time in about 5 or 6 years since before I became bedridden, basically. That was the last time that I've worn heels, basically because of my health. Like I wasn't able to, and then my ability slowly declined. Anyways, so Saturday was the first night that I got all dressed up in years. Okay, post-op. I'm officially 2 years now post-op. And so a lot of things are just like really falling into place now as far as things that I can do and things that I'm starting to do again that I hadn't done in a long time. So it was my first night to get to wear my beautiful over-the-knee Stuart Weitzman boots. I hadn't worn them in years. I know they're not exactly the current trend, but I've never been a trendy girl. I don't really care. I wear what I want, when I want, how I want. I don't really care what people are going to say, unless of course it's like a dress code that I have to abide by. Anyway, so I was excited to pull these boots out is my point, okay? And we went out, we were there. As I walk up to, you know, greet the couple, and there's a whole bunch of his coworkers there, former and present. He's got like his family there, his mom, his child, an adult child. His new bride, you know, is there. And we walk up and, you know, my husband isn't the kind of guy that will introduce me ever. Okay, so I have to do that myself. And I walked up and I'm greeting people, introducing myself, wishing the birthday man, you know, happy birthday, thanks for the invitation, for having us or whatever. And so then his bride walks around the table and comes right up into my face, and she's like, hi, and just like looks at me as if I'm supposed to know who she is or whatever. And I was like, hi, how are you? And then I looked over at this other coworker of my husband, a former coworker, that was also friends with the guy that I was talking to his wife all night. That's who I looked over at. And so when I saw him and I saw her walk around the table, I thought that was his wife that I had spent the whole evening at that wedding starving with, talking to, that then I left to go and get food. So I thought it was her. So I start off like, oh, hi. I was like, I haven't seen you since we were starving at the wedding. And she kind of looked at me like she had no idea what I was saying. And she was like, yes, the last time I saw you was at my wedding. And I was like, at your wedding? And I started thinking, and I was like, I have the kind of face where you literally can see every thought written across my face, like unless I'm deliberately trying to hide that, and I don't typically try to hide that. You see where I'm going with this, right? So she tells me, you know, she's like, yeah, I haven't seen you since my wedding. And I was like, your wedding? I kind of went like that. And I was like, she goes, yeah, you were at my wedding, remember? And she started laughing. And I was like, yeah, no, I was at the wedding. I was like, but weren't you the one that I was starving with at the table? And she looked at me. And I looked over at the man that I thought was her husband. Then her actual husband turned back around and was standing there next to her. My husband was standing next to him and next to me. And I had just told him happy birthday. So now he's like catching on to parts of the conversation, and he's looking at me like confused. Everybody's looking at me confused. I'm looking at them confused. And she's like, yeah, you were at my wedding. She was like, you were starving? I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, I got confused. I thought you were the other wife, meaning the other wife, my husband's other friend's other wife. I go, I thought you were the other wife. And she's like, what? And she gets all kind of like offended. Now, keep in mind, the bride is a Latin woman. I don't know her exact nationality, but she is a Latin. She speaks Spanish. We spoke Spanish to each other the first night that we went out together when we met prior to the wedding. So anyways, she's Latin. But the wife that I had spent the evening talking to at the table that night at this woman's wedding, and the wife that is married to this other coworker that is standing there, they're like, I don't know, I don't really know the exact nationality, but my point is they're tanned in a different kind of a way. So in the lighting that I was at Saturday night, I couldn't see the exact color of skin. Everybody kind of looked a little bit like brightened candlelight yellow because they had like really, really yellow lights. And so that really affected the skin tone of the people that I was looking at, including my own in the photographs that were taken of me that night, okay? And so my point is, I just moved what was holding my camera. Forgive me. I thought I was gonna, I hope I didn't throw the camera angle off. Okay, anyway. So my point is, she goes, I'm the only wife. And I was like, no, I was like, okay, she's getting offended, you know? I was like, no, that's not what I meant. I was like, yes, you're his only wife. I said, that's not what I meant. I thought you were someone else's wife. And she goes, no, I'm his wife. I was like, oh my God. I was like, no. I was like, what I meant was, I thought you were a different woman, a wife married to a different man. I didn't realize you were at this point. I'm just like, Michelle, shut up. And she's just like trying to be nice-ish and gracious after she's already called me out, okay, and realized that her calling me out didn't make the situation better. Okay, her calling me out just made the situation worse, okay, because I still didn't know who she was. And so anyway, she just kind of like smiled because at this point she sees that everybody at the party is realizing that I have no idea who the fuck this bitch is, okay? And I'm trying to be like cordial and polite and like, I just walked up to this fucking party literally 2 minutes ago and now all of a sudden I've caused a scene and some bitch is pissed off at me, right? Because I don't know who the fuck she is. And because I never even fucking saw her. And all I was focused on was being starving at her damn crappy ass wedding. She don't know how to throw a damn good wedding. The whole freaking night I was talking about how, you know, what terrible etiquette her wedding was. That it was all beautiful and shit. They spent all this money, but everybody's going to remember how horrible of a wedding it was because we were all fucking starving for over 2.5 hours while they're out there getting their fucking photo session done. Anyway, okay, I digress. I'm getting a little riled up. Calm down, Michelle. I too am Latin, so I get a little heated too. Anyways, so you can see she was heated. I was heated. She tries to like tamp the situation down by just kind of like or whatever. And then she finally was just like, haha. She just smiled and gave me like a hug and went on, turned around, gave me her back and went on to start talking to other people while I was literally still trying to explain to her what the fuck I meant. Like this all kind of happened so fast. But at this point, like, I'm not going to let it go, bitch. You wanted to call me out? You're going to hear the rest of what the fuck I got to say. So at that point, I finished the sentence saying how I thought she was the wife that I was starving at the table with all night. And I didn't recognize her because I didn't get to spend any time with her at that wedding. And she looked very different tonight compared to how she was in her bridal outfit from afar. And that was how I remembered her. So I didn't recognize her. And then I smiled and said, it's so nice to see you again. So she had she had no choice but to like face me during the rest of this because I was saying this in the side of her ear since she had turned and given me her back. And we were both now facing this huge long table full of like 30 people who could now hear my explanation since she tried to make me look like a fucking idiot. I called her out for being a fucking horrible hostess as a bride. While smiling, of course, because, you know, I am a Southern beauty, and that's how we Texans do it. So anyway, she went on to go and talk to the rest of the people. I went on to enjoy the music, etc., etc. Finally, after a few songs, I fucking convinced my husband. Thank God he was already drunk at that point, so he was happy to leave. I mean, he wanted to stay, but he was fine enough to leave since he was already drunk and his mission had been accomplished, essentially. Well, he got drunk and saw his friends, so he was happy, you know? Anyway, I was ready to go home. I wanted to be at home with my dogs. I wanted to get out of these heels. I wanted to get away from these fucking people that I didn't even know and don't like me. This fucking dumb bitch who, you know, bye girl, bye, okay? Now keep in mind, she's probably like 12 years older than me, so she's probably pushing 60, but I'm just trying to explain like the difference in age and probably the difference in perspective or whatever. I don't know. Plus, she's not from here, so she doesn't understand like culture here and traditions, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. There was a huge breakdown, like the communication or whatever, okay? So needless to say, she and I aren't going to be besties anytime soon. Yeah, so I was mortified, okay? And by this point, like, I don't want anything to do with her, you know? Like, I'm polite. I'm not being rude or nothing, but just like, girl, stay over there and go fucking talk to other people, okay? I don't need you talking to me. And so, now I'm going to go into the Sunlit Seduction. And from here, I took this really dark, is this what I did? Yeah. I took this really dark shade here and just kind of carefully built it up on this outer edge. Yeah, so at this point, like, I'm enjoying the music. Thank God they had a live rock band that was doing good rock cover songs instead of like crappy 80s music. Good God. Or like stupid 80s songs or country. Like, I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, but this is just like, those are just like not what I want to be hearing when I'm out and about trying to have a good time. Like, play some damn good rock and roll, okay? That's what I want to hear. I don't care from what era, as long as it's rock and roll. Anyhow, so they were playing some really good rock songs, like alternative rock from various eras, which of course made me pretty happy. And I was just like waiting to go. Finally, I was like, okay, let's leave. And so I got my husband ready to go, like saying goodbye to all his friends and stuff. We took a couple of photos. I don't even know why I did that. I guess just trying to be nice. And yeah, I'm just like, this is literally why I can't make any friends as an adult. Like, because even though I'm really nice and polite and I'm trying my best to, like, you know, be nice, it's just somehow I always say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, or people misinterpret my facial expressions, which is a pretty common thing, okay? And I don't know. It's just, I'm not like everybody else. I don't operate the same way. I don't think the same way. I don't function the same way. You know, I don't like, I don't know how to say this. I just don't fit in. Let me put it like that. Okay. I'm not like everybody else. And so I'm taking the light shade here from the Patrick Tall. I had a good time because of the fact that I have a good time. As long as there's music, you know, I have a good time. And, you know, I wasn't drinking because I don't drink. And I spent the evening kind of speaking with the guy's mom, just kind of like a little bit. Mostly I spent the evening like dancing off to myself while my husband was talking to his friends. And, you know, he was like by my side kind of, but he was like focused on seeing his friends, of course, you know, I mean, like he sees me all the time, you know, he's there to see his friends and that's fine. But finally I was like, I'm ready to go. And so we said our goodbyes and we left. And yeah, honestly, like his friend was like, we should do this again sometime. We should make it a point to like go somewhere. And my husband was like, yeah, because we had actually been at like one of the recent concerts that we had gone to, my husband and I, we've been to a ton of concerts this year, okay? But one of the concerts that we had been to, he and his wife, his friend and his wife were at, but we were in different sections of the venue. And so we didn't meet up. We didn't get to like say hello or whatever. Actually, he did come over, but she didn't. And so I feel like she didn't want to see me, which is fine. But like she didn't come over to say hello or whatever at that venue. So I feel like she was only being polite to me because everybody was watching her and she's the new wife and she was trying to like look good and save face to everybody else. And she doesn't really care what she looks like towards me, is my thought. Anyway, so, yeah, it was just, it was really awkward. I did not like her vibe. I do not like her. I do not like her at all. Like, she's nice enough or whatever, but no. Anyway, so yeah, that's why, that's the kind of reason why I can't make friends, because no matter what, even when I'm trying to like make a good impression or whatever, I always say or do something completely wrong. God, somebody help me. Why am I like this? Anybody else like this? Yeah, so anyway, what was the other one that I used? Then I went back into the Sunlit Seduction for the lower lash line, just a little bit of this dark color right here for the back edge. Yeah, it was crazy. Like, I literally just walked up and, okay, this is the exact brush that I used. I love this brush, but I don't think it's worth the price at all. It literally fell apart on me. This is the Chanel like 20 whatever. I think it's a 201 or 203. Anyway, it's too expensive for it to have fallen apart as quickly as it did. So yeah, that is literally how my Saturday night went and why I can't make friends with my husband's wives. Like the one that I thought she was, the wife that I thought she was, she and I actually like really connected, but that was because we were like down in the trenches together trying to survive. She like gave me her number and asked me for mine, which is very rare. Most people don't ever want to talk to me again. Seriously. Usually the only people that ask me for my number and never want to talk to me again are the people that are like trying to talk to me, like trying to come on to me or whatever. Usually I don't ever make friends with people that I try to make friends with. And, you know, I just explained one of the many reasons as to an example as to why that is. And it's because no matter what the situation is, I always just like say the wrong thing and somehow offend someone and I don't even mean to or realize it. And then of course those people aren't going to let that go. Anyway, yeah, so then I topped the look off with the Natasha Denona Macro Tech in the burgundy shade. I do not like this eyeliner for the waterline at all, but I do like it for just like smoking out. I should have done this first and then the eyeshadow, but that's just not how I did it. This is how I actually did it that night. I was just kind of stumbling into a look, and so I'm just kind of trying to recreate it, and I probably should have adjusted the steps as far as the timing and stuff, but whatever. Yeah, so I did end up having a really good time anyways. I had a fun time wearing a really pretty pink dress. It was a really pretty hot pink lace dress, and not like a slutty lace dress, not like the kind that people wear in Vegas, okay? But like a pretty hot pink lace dress, a classy one. And yeah, it was a fun time. I liked it. And so the final step that I did for this eye look as far as eyeshadow is concerned is I used the tiniest little bit of this shimmer. This was the only shimmer that I used for the entire look. And I literally just popped it right there so that when I turn my head in the light or whatever, you get just a little glimmer of light and brightness without it being an overwhelming shimmer that is just like too much sometimes, you know, in my opinion. Okay. These are all the brushes that I used for my eye look today. I feel like, yeah, that's a lot of brushes. I'm the girl on the internet who uses too many brushes and who isn't afraid to admit it. Hi, I'm Michelle. I use a whole lot of makeup brushes to do my makeup. And when I wash my brushes, I wash a ton of brushes and it sucks. Yeah, I'll admit it, that sucks. But I would prefer to use a clean brush for my eye looks. That's just how I am. Unless I'm doing a brown eyeshadow look, I want all the other colors to come out true to color. So I would rather have a clean brush. And I don't wipe the tips of my brushes on a cloth. I will wipe some of my synthetic brushes, like my Singe Beauty specifically, the blender. I will wipe that on a cloth. Anyways, I digress. I almost forgot. I did do my brows. And I did wear brow gel that night. I'm not gonna, oh my God, my brow just got stuck in my hair and pulled out my curl. Anyway, I'm not gonna do brow gel today. I'm literally just on my way to, I'm about to head out of town to go pick up my package. I have a new package, a new palette that arrived. It's the new Huda Beauty palette that is out for the holidays. I did pick that palette up. It's gonna be my second ever Huda Beauty palette that I've ever tried. I wasn't a fan of the first one. I think the mattes were overrated. The first one I'm talking about is the Mercury Retrograde palette. The mattes like aren't the best. They're a little powdery, not the best, but they don't build very well. They're a little powdery. They don't stick. They just kind of like fluff away. They do have some pigment, but I don't know. They were patchy. Didn't really like them. Shimmers had a lot of fallout. Too many topper shades in that palette. I just didn't really get along with it. I decluttered that thing, even though I only paid for, I think I paid like 17 or 14. I think by the time I got all of the discounts and everything, I paid $14 for that palette. And honestly, even at $14, I didn't love the palette. So I haven't been tempted by any of her Huda Beauty release. Like, I haven't been tempted by any of the Huda Beauty releases over the recent years since that. And I was way late to the game to get that palette because, again, it went on clearance, like, by the time I got it. And it was like when it was going out and being discontinued. Anyway, yeah, so I haven't bought literally any other Huda Beauty palette ever. And I didn't ever anticipate doing so, but the Pretty Grunge color story appealed to me. It does have a little bit too many of her like mauve tones that are a little bit more in this side, and some of her browns her browns tend to lean more purple mauve also. So I didn't really think that I was gonna like the color story, but I figured like that was gonna be the closest to I figured that that was going to be the closest thing to up my alley that Huda Beauty was probably going to release in a large palette that's made in Italy, because I have been drawn to some of the smaller eyeshadow palettes, her 9 pans, but those are like made in China and they don't have the same performance. They're not the same formula. They're beautiful color stories and packaging, and I like the, you know, the cute little style of them, but like I'm about performance. So anyway, yeah. Let me go ahead and finish up the eye with some mascara. I'm almost done with this little one. I feel like, I mean, I probably have like another month on it before it's actually expired, but I just feel like I've used up a lot of the product that's in here. And since I did go ahead and pick up a new one in my Sephora haul, which if you missed the short, not very many people watched it, which is why I'm bringing it up again. If you missed my Sephora beauty haul, it was just a quick little short because it wasn't a major haul. I was trying not to shop the sale. So the fact that I even got anything at all is, anyway. So yeah, if you missed that little short, I'll be sure to link that up here in the eye and down below in the description box if you want to check that out, just so you can see what I got. But I did get a big version of this mascara, and I'm really looking forward to playing with it and seeing if it's any different than the little one. Because I have noticed that when I go from a little mascara to the big version of it, sometimes there's a difference. Some brands there's a difference, and some brands there isn't. And like, that might have something to do with how long they've been sitting around, or it might have something to do with something that I heard kind of like through the makeup grapevine. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but somewhere I came across someone saying that they believed that like the minis are made better so that you'll be drawn to try them, and that the full sizes sometimes miss the mark. Let me know if you've experienced that, you know, before. Oh, I actually didn't use this mascara that night. I used the Bad Gal Bang, so that's where I kind of went a little awry. That's all right. I'm gonna just stack them today. And then I did wear a really pretty matte lip for that look. But today what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna play with a brand new lippy. I'm so excited. So I recently picked up this About Face. By recently, I mean when I got my sultry, my full-size sultry palette, when Ipsy and Boxy merged together, I ordered this as one of the things. So I got this on super, super discount. This is a lip color from About Face, and I think it's gonna be a really fun, kind of like a maroon, purpley, burgundy wine. I think it'll go really nice with this eye look, and I haven't tried it yet, and I think that today would be a fun time to try it. So I always recommend, before you use the About Face liquid lips, or any liquid lip especially, but before you go in with the About Face liquid lip, always make sure to either have a little bit of gloss or some lip balm or something like that on. You want to have moisturization on under your lips. Now, you don't want to have too much of it on, because then your product will just slide all over the place. But you saw that I had some gloss on. I'm just going to tap off a little bit of it. Okay, I still have like the moisture feeling on my lips, but you can see now that it's not quite as shiny, so I've taken a lot of the product off. I'm gonna use this for the first time, and hopefully this will complement the look. Okay, it smells good. So, you know, you just never know how long the products have been sitting around at Ipsy, so I always just smell them to be sure. Really think this is gonna go great with the lip. With the eye look, I'm really excited. Let's see. Ooh, that's dark. And that's more like a blood wine. It's always so scary going in with a really dark color like this, because if you miss up your lip line, it's like really obvious for the rest of the day. Okay. All right. I shouldn't have kept touching my lips together. I'm out of practice, but I love this color. Let me know what you think of that with the eye look. Actually a little bit more wine than the eyes are, but I think it looks really pretty. Let's take a look at everything together. Let me fix the hair a little bit at least. Feel like the cheeks are a little bit too peach, and I could use more of like a berry. Let's see if I have a different blush. I didn't even put on any bronzer. Maybe that's what I'm missing. Let me get my red blush. Okay, I'm gonna use this one actually instead of that one, because this one here is a little bit, that's the wrong color. Well, this one here is a little bit more mauve. Oh, that's dark. I went in really hard. I'm gonna have to blend. Oh my God. I forgot how much this brush picks up compared to my synthetic ones. And the last few times that I have used this blush palette, I have been using synthetic brushes. So I kind of forgot that I gotta go in careful. Let's try to fix this cheek. This is just a clean brush that I'm buffing with. Okay, that is definitely intense, but I feel like I did kind of salvage it. All right. That was intense. Let's see if I can tamp that down a little bit more, because it's a little much here, right there. This is just a brush that I was using to apply my foundation earlier. No additional product, just kind of going over it a little bit. Okay. I feel like that's better. Let me know if you think that the blush is too much. Let me know. Okay. So now here's the look of the day. Let me know what you think. Should I add some bronzer? I'm not sure, but let's go in with a little bit of the Hourglass powder to see if I can just tamp down the blush a little bit. I only have one like ambient light type powder in this palette, which is kind of what drew me to this palette. I like that it was very blush heavy and that it had a different color bronzer than the previous year, and that it seemed to be less warm than a lot of their other bronzers. So that was why I went for this color rendition. I am, aside from going to pick up this palette, I am going to film a couple of other videos today, so you might see this look several times. So this is a more amped up look of, you know, what I did the other night. And yeah, I really love the way that the eye look came out. Let me know what you think about it. I had a really good time playing with the mattes from these palettes. I will say, this Velvet Liaison palette, a lot of people have been finding it at like TJ Maxx and those kinds of stores. So that's really exciting. Here's the palette shade names. One thing about this palette is that like this matte right here came out a lot darker than I expected it to. That tends to happen sometimes with Pat McGrath light shades, but anyways, I really love the eye look. I can't stop staring at it in the mirror. So that's going to do it for today's Chatty Get Ready With Me. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure to click the like button. It really does help my channel out so much. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!